Hey guys, for today's video, I thought I should talk about a more advanced topic than normal, and that would be guild tech. We already have a video about guilds, but I think it is important for us to take a look at guild tech specifically. Guild tech gives your heroes a huge increase in stats. Although you will have to spend a lot of guild coins and gold, it is worth every penny. I will also go out on a limb early on in this video and say that I think it is possible for some heroes to become viable or even overpowered when paired with max guild tech. Anyway, before we get to that, let's take a look at the shop. Here we can see that the tech is divided by hero class. We have Warrior, Assassin, Wanderer, Cleric, and Mage. And each class has a unique set of stats that can be increased. Each increase in level is a 0.5% stat increase, except for skill damage, where it is a 1% per level. Stats differ slightly from class to class, and we'll go over that later, but for now you should know that similar to a talent tree, to go from one stat to the next, you need to have bought 10 levels in the previous stat. And obviously the higher the level, the more expensive it gets in guild coins and gold. Now a lot of you are probably asking, which should I level first? Well, that really depends on your team. This is obvious, but if you have more clerics, then leveling clerics stats will benefit you the most, and so on for every class. As far as which stats level in that class tree, I would have to say prioritize what those classes are good at, or weaken. Alright, that's a bad answer, but this is where things get a little bit more complicated. For a better explanation, we need to look into each class to decide what to level, and you will notice how guild tech heavily influences your team. But before we do that, I'd like to mention an important thought on stats in TapTap heroes in general, and this applies to runes and artifacts and a lot of things in the game. Percentage increases on a higher base stat will provide a larger stat boost. Knowing this, you can go to your team, check your heroes, and see which stat is naturally higher before guild tech is applied. Now those same stats will be magnified when increased by a percentage. This is not only good for their stat increase, but a lot of time their skill and their role is already complemented by higher base stats. So a good example of this is Wolnir. Wolnir has a very large health pool, which is balanced by low armor. So the developers have given him skills to recover health instead of trying to mitigate damage. Hence, when you increase his health percentage, you are further increasing the goal of his kit. But this process cannot be applied to most stats in the guild tech shop, unfortunately. Stats such as hit rate, crit rate, skill damage, and dodge chance do not apply to this line of thought. Well, now that we have a decent understanding of how stats work, let's get into the intricacies of the shop. Let's start with warriors. Warriors have a basic tech tree with health, attack, crit, dodge, and skill damage. This tech line has a little of everything needed for the variety of warriors in the game. For most tank warriors, crit is useless, but take Cursed One or Nameless King as examples, and suddenly crit is great. On the other side of that, dodge is a stat that is rare to see on a tank warrior, so being able to spec into that can be a great buff to some tanks. Anyway, let's move on to assassins. The assassin tree is the only one which provides armor break. This is great because it increases something that assassins already excel in, giving you more incentive to use assassins for their role of breaking armor. Although there's not much else to say about assassins here, we're going to go ahead and move on to the Wanderer class. The first thing you're going to notice about the Wanderer stat tree is that it's missing crit rate. Crit rate is a staple to most Wanderer heroes, and here it is instead replaced by dodge. Now you're probably thinking that this makes Wanderers weaker than we originally thought, and you are mostly correct. But there is one case where this is not true. That is Mulan. She is technically a Wanderer that relies on stacking dodge, so being able to start the fight with 20% dodge increases her evasiveness and survivability early on in the battle, which is where she is her weakest. This is the first example of where guild tech covers a hero's weakness, and in my opinion, moves them up a tier. Now let's talk about Clerics. You'll notice that Clerics are the only class with a speed stat in the tech shop. This is why Clerics can be considered one of the strongest classes in the game. If you look at Cleric stats across the board, they are by far the slowest heroes. The speed you get from leveling the guild tech puts even the slowest Cleric as the third fastest hero in the game, only behind Mulan and Freya. This means for clerics with healing over time spells, they get their heals off before their allies die, making speed an invaluable stat on them. And lastly, we have Mage. As you can see, I focus mainly on attack and skill damage because with most mages, these stats are great increases to their effectiveness of being a damage dealer. That about wraps up Guild Tech. Sorry this video was a bit long, but I thought I covered the basics along with some more advanced thoughts. If you thought I missed something, please leave a comment or send me a message. Thanks for watching, and peace.